So, now I'll show you how to properly attach a line to the cleat. One mistake that is often made is to attach the line here first. I'll show you that once. The line is attached here with a cleat hitch, and now I have to feed the whole line under the railing from below and pull it out again. Our recommendation is, of course, to start properly right away. I take the end and pass it down from the outside. And now I'm done. I'm going to make the cleat hitch here. The line is already positioned correctly. Very important. The line must always go over the railing. Otherwise I'll have the problem of the railing bending downwards when stabilizing the boat because the line was attached incorrectly. And now we're going to show you a little something about the cleat hitch. You usually learn the cleat hitch in a sailing school, but then in practice on the boat there are always problems that such a cleat hitch can also be pinched. I will also demonstrate this with the thicker mooring line later. That's why it's so important. The line is now coming off the jetty and there are now more possibilities to make the cleat hitch. Of course, I can start here with down, down, and half hitch. But now I have the problem that the line can of course pinch here. And if the line is a bit thicker, the line gets jammed here. The second disadvantage is that, although I have it down here, you can see that there is little friction, which means that the line has poor friction here. In other words, this line basically has too little friction here, and the cleat hitch does not hold well. That always means, that's our tip now, always let the line move away from the cleat. So not to the cleat, but away, and you can see immediately that there is a lot of friction at the bottom, a lot more friction. And now comes the half hitch, and that's exactly the right way to hit the cleat. And you can't see any pinching. That means the line is free. In other words, if this cleat hitch has very strong tension, then I can also release it under tension. It's one of the few knots that can do this. And there is no pinching of the line. That's the advantage. Let's take another look at the thick mooring lines at the front. As promised, I'll now show you the cleat hitch with the thick mooring lines at the front. They really are much thicker than the stern lines. And here it is important that this pinching should not happen during the cleat hitch. So, now let's take a look at a front cleat. This is where the line comes out. You can also see the line. This line can be damped a little. The advantage is that the line naturally has damping. Whenever a line becomes taut, it is important that it has this damping so that line breakage can be prevented or minimized. Now let's take a look. I'll release the cleat here, and now we've learned that the line should always run away from the cleat at an oblique angle. Now I'm going to do it the wrong way round on purpose. I'm going to start here. As you can see, there's very little friction. The line has almost no friction here. This is where it gets tricky. If I pull the line tight here, it will snag on the other line and under the cleat. Now the line is basically not taut. But you can already see that even now it is very, very difficult to release the line. Especially when the line is under a lot of tension here. Is it really difficult to get this line out of this pinch? Now I'll show you once again how to do it properly, or how we recommend it. The line goes diagonally away from the cleat and then down, down. As you can see, it has good friction. The line now really has good friction at both ends on the horns of the cleat. Now comes the cross, and this is where the half hitch comes in. This ensures that the cleat is properly secured and you can ease it under tension. When you come on charter boats, you have probably often seen that a bowline or, in this case, an eye splice is placed around the cleat at the back of the stern lines. In this video, we want to show you the advantages and disadvantages of this method. Let's take a look at the details now. Here I have a typical eye splice, or here is a rigged eye splice, and it is laid around the cleat. The advantage is of course obvious. The cleat is free at the top. This means that if I now attach a cleat hitch here, I have plenty of space to make the cleat hitch properly. It's the same as you saw in my previous video. I start here on the outside, the line goes diagonally away and then down, down, crossover and the half hitch. And as you can see, the advantage of this I-splice or bowline, which is attached here, is that the cleat is free. This is particularly ideal for beginners, because the cleat is free and you can attach the cleat strike very nicely. But now we come to the disadvantages. The disadvantage is that when I have a splice like this, I sometimes have the problem of the line getting caught on the bollards outside. This can happen. A ringer is on it, a knot is on it, the line is hanging on the bollard. You can now think, how do I get this I-splice off the cleat when the line is under tension? For example, the line gets tangled on the bollard outside. It's quite possible that some knot or wrinkle will get caught on the bollard outside. And then I have no way of untangling it. The only option is to cut the line here with a knife. Then, of course, the line is a few centimeters shorter. And for this reason, this I-splice has a disadvantage here. My recommendation if you are lying on shoreline, this line now goes to the mainland and the wind comes in during the night and the anchor breaks free. Then, of course, an I-splice would be very problematic, because I can't release the line, but the boat is basically drifting towards the pier or the rocks. So in this case, I would say that for maneuvers like this, even at buoys, I would recommend using a cleat hitch instead of an I-splice and putting a second cleat hitch on the cleat with the other end.